Welcome back to the channel, Rare Coins History, coin lovers and treasure seekers. If you're someone who finds joy in discovering history through currency or simply loves the thrill of turning pocket change into something priceless, you're in for a treat today. Because in this video, we're diving deep into the story of a small yet powerful piece of American history, the 1971 Lincoln penny. You may have passed by dozens of these little copper coins without giving them a second thought, but after watching this video, you'll never look at a penny the same way again. So grab your magnifying glass, your coin jar, and maybe even your lucky gloves, because today we're exploring why one tiny 1-cent coin from 1971 could be worth a jaw-dropping amount of money, yes, even as high as $90,000. Stick around, because you don't want to miss this. Let's begin by setting the scene. It's 1971 in the United States of America. The Vietnam War is raging, the Apollo missions are sending astronauts to the moon, and gas costs just 36 cents per gallon. Amidst the social and political upheaval, the U.S. Mint is quietly producing billions of coins to keep the economy moving, and among them is the humble 1971 Lincoln penny. Now, why is this penny so important? It's not just because of its age or its circulation, it's because of its potential. Some coins are ordinary. Some are rare. And some are the result of history, mistakes, and precision all coming together in just the right way. That's exactly what happened with some versions of the 1971 Lincoln penny. Before we talk about value, let's explore the design of this iconic coin. On the front, or the obverse, you'll see the familiar profile of President Abraham Lincoln. His image first appeared on the penny back in 1909, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in American history. It was originally designed by Victor David Brenner to celebrate Lincoln's 100th birthday, and his initials, VDB, can still be found on the reverse of some pennies if you look closely. The 1971 version still features Lincoln's sharp profile, facing right, with the words, "In God We Trust," arching above his head. To his left is the word "Liberty," and to the right, the date, 1971. And just next to the date, you might find a small but very important detail: the mint mark. That tiny letter next to the year can tell you a lot. It reveals where the coin was minted. In 1971, there were 3 main mint locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. If there's no mint mark, that means it was made in Philadelphia. A small d means Denver. And the prized S stands for San Francisco, a location often associated with proof coins and special mintages. Let's flip the coin over. On the reverse side, you'll see the image of the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 to mark Lincoln's 150th birthday. Look closely, and you'll notice that if the coin is in great condition, you can even see the tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial. Above the building are the words "United States of America," and below, the motto "E pluribus unum," which means, out of many, one. At the bottom, of course, is the denomination, 1 cent. It's beautiful, it's detailed, and it's one of the most collected coins in the world. But what makes some 1971 Lincoln pennies stand out from the rest? Let's talk about rarity. Most 1971 pennies are common. In fact, the U.S. Mint produced over 5.3 billion of them in Philadelphia alone, nearly 2.9 billion in Denver, and over 500 million proof coins in San Francisco. But here's where it gets interesting: not all coins are created equal. Some 1971 pennies have incredibly rare mint errors or unique characteristics that make them extremely valuable to collectors. We're talking double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and even wrong metal planchet errors, where the penny was mistakenly struck on a different kind of metal point. One of the most famous types of error for 1971 is the double die obverse, also known as DDO. This happens when the coin is struck twice with a misaligned die, resulting in doubled images, usually visible on the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." If you have a 1971 penny and those letters look slightly shadowed or doubled, congratulations, you might have something special. Condition also plays a huge role. A coin in poor condition, even if rare, may only fetch a few dollars. But a pristine coin, One that has been graded MS-65 or higher by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, can be worth thousands. And a rare error coin in uncirculated condition? That's where the real money comes in. So let's say you found a 1971 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, but the letters on the front look a little funny, maybe they're doubled. You send it in to be graded, and it comes back as an uncirculated double-die obverse. That's a coin that could command huge interest in the collector market. Or imagine you have a 1971 penny struck on a silver planchet by mistake, a known but extremely rare error. That type of minting error is so uncommon that collectors will bid ferociously just to own a piece of US mint history, and it gets even better, because in certain rare cases, these coins have sold at auctions for life-changing sums. We're talking prices that could pay off a house or fund a child's education. That's how seriously collectors take the 1971 Lincoln penny when it's something truly unique. Now, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Not every 1971 penny is worth a fortune. The vast majority are only worth their face value, or a few cents to a few dollars at most. But if you're lucky enough to find the right coin, the one with the perfect storm of rarity, condition, and error, the value could go much, much higher. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. What is the highest known value for a 1971 Lincoln penny? Under the right circumstances, we're talking about a coin with an ultra-rare error, in pristine condition, verified and authenticated by the experts. A single 1971 Lincoln cent has been known to fetch up to $90,000. That's right. A 1-cent coin. Worth $90,000. It's unbelievable, but absolutely real. And it just goes to show, sometimes, the most extraordinary treasures can be hiding in the most ordinary places. So next time you get change at the store, or you're digging through an old coin jar at your grandparents' house, keep an eye out for that little copper penny dated 1971. It might just be the most valuable coin you've ever held. Today's journey takes us into the copper-colored mystery of a coin that nearly everyone has seen, but very few have truly looked at closely. We're talking about the 1982 Lincoln penny. It's small. It's familiar. It's 1 cent. But what if I told you that some versions of this everyday coin could be worth tens of thousands of dollars? That's right, the 1982 penny holds a secret. And today, we're going to peel back the layers of history, design, minting, and mystery to uncover why this humble little coin might be hiding a fortune right under your nose. And at the end of the video, we'll reveal just how much the rarest version of this coin has sold for, and let's just say, it's a number that could change your life. Now, let's rewind the clock. It's 1982. America is in the midst of change. Michael Jackson's Thriller hasn't been released yet. Gas is 91 cents a gallon. Ronald Reagan is in his second year as president. And the US Mint is about to make a major decision that will affect the very fabric of our coins. Quite literally, you see, 1982 wasn't just any ordinary year for the Lincoln penny. It was a turning point. Before 1982, pennies were made primarily of copper, 95% copper, to be exact, with a small amount of zinc. But copper prices had been climbing, and the cost to produce each penny was beginning to exceed its face value. That's right, it was costing the government more than 1 cent just to make a 1-cent coin. So, something had to change. That year, the US Mint began shifting the composition of the penny from a copper-based coin to a zinc-based one. The new pennies were made of 97.5% zinc and plated with a thin layer of copper to keep the familiar look. The change was so significant that it happened right in the middle of the year, and that's what makes the 1982 penny so incredibly interesting. During the transition, both types of pennies were produced, some with the original copper alloy, and others with the new zinc core. But here's the kicker, they didn't just make two types. Because the coins were struck at different mints and with slightly different designs, there are actually 7 different varieties of the 1982 Lincoln penny. Let's break this down. You have 1982 pennies that are made of copper. You have 1982 pennies made of zinc. Then, within each metal type, there are coins with large dates and small dates, referring to the size of the numbers in the year stamp. And on top of that, you have coins with different mint marks, some were struck in Philadelphia, with no mint mark, and others in Denver, with a D mint mark. So, to recap, copper large date, copper small date, zinc large date, zinc small date, and then those with or without a mint mark. It's like a collector's dream and a detective story rolled into one. But wait, there's more. What really makes the 1982 penny fascinating isn't just the number of varieties. It's the fact that some of them were not supposed to exist. In fact, for a long time, people believed that a certain type of 1982 penny simply didn't exist at all. That is, until one was discovered, and it rocked the coin collecting world. This brings us to the legend of the 1982 D small date copper penny. According to the official records, Denver was only supposed to strike the new zinc coins in 1982 with the small date design. But against all odds, a few copper planchets, the metal blanks used to make coins, made their way into the presses, and were stamped with the small date dies. These coins were minted, released, and vanished into circulation. For years, no one noticed. And then, like finding a needle in a haystack, one sharp-eyed collector discovered a 1982 D small date penny, but it was copper, not zinc. And suddenly, the numismatic world lit up. This penny wasn't just rare, it was a mistake that wasn't supposed to happen. That's the kind of thing collectors go crazy for. When a coin like this is discovered, it becomes more than just a penny. It becomes a mystery, a prize, and a piece of American minting history. So, how do you know if you might have one of these rare 1982 pennies? First, check the date. You're looking for a 1982 with a small date, which can be tricky to identify, but with a little practice, you'll spot the difference. The small date numbers are slimmer and the 2 in 1982 curves more sharply. Next, look for the D mint mark just below the date. That means it was struck in Denver. Then comes the big test, determining if the coin is copper or zinc. Here's a simple trick you can do at home: just weigh it. A copper penny will weigh about 3.11 grams, while a zinc penny will weigh around 2.5 grams. You'll need a digital scale that's precise to the hundredth of a gram. If you have a 1982 D small date penny that weighs 3.11 grams, congratulations, you may be holding one of the rarest pennies ever made, but that's not the only version of the 1982 penny that can be valuable. Even the standard varieties in mint condition, especially with red luster and a high grading from PCGS or NGC, can be worth anywhere from a few dollars to several $100s, depending on the type. Some collectors even seek out full sets of all 7 varieties of 1982 pennies, adding another layer of value if you've got a complete, well-preserved collection. Now, here's where things get really exciting. Because this isn't just theory, this isn't just collector folklore. One of these extremely rare 1982 D small date copper pennies was actually sold at auction. And the final hammer price? Well, brace yourself, because that 1-cent coin, the one that was never supposed to exist, the one someone found in their collection, sold for an unbelievable $80,000. Yes, you heard that right. A penny. 1 cent worth $80,000. Just imagine, digging through your change jar, or flipping through an old coin book, and suddenly realizing you're holding something that could change your financial future. That's the magic of numismatics. That's the power of being just a little curious and a little lucky. Today's episode is going to blow your mind. Why? Because we're about to explore one of the most overlooked and misunderstood coins in American coinage, the 1980 Lincoln penny. Yes, just 1 cent. The kind of coin people barely glance at. The one you might use to scratch a lottery ticket or toss into a fountain. But hold on, because there's more to this little copper beauty than meets the eye. We're going to unravel the secrets behind the 1980 penny, look at why certain mint marks matter, discover what collectors are hunting for, and finally, we'll reveal how much one specific variety of this coin has sold for. And trust me, it's a number that could change your entire view of pocket change forever. Let's rewind the clock for a moment and set the stage. The year is 1980. The United States is coming out of the turbulent 1970s. Ronald Reagan is running for president. Inflation is high, gas is expensive, and a gallon of milk costs about $1.60. Amidst all the economic anxiety and political change, the U.S. Mint is quietly churning out billions of coins to keep the country running, among them, the humble 1980 Lincoln penny. Now, at first glance, the 1980 penny might not seem like anything special. After all, billions of them were made, over 7.4 billion from the Philadelphia Mint, more than 5 billion from the Denver Mint, and about 3.5 million proof coins from the San Francisco Mint. That's a lot of pennies, right? So why would anyone care about one from 1980? The answer lies in the details. Because not all 1980 pennies are created equal. Some were made with microscopic mistakes. Some were struck on the wrong metal. Some have features that make collectors stop in their tracks. And these rare versions? They can be worth a fortune. Let's start with the basics. On the front, or obverse, of the 1980 penny, you'll see the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, a design originally created by Victor D. Brenner and introduced in 1909. Above Lincoln's head are the words, "In God We Trust." To the left, "Liberty," and to the right, the date, 1980. Just below the date, you may see a tiny letter, the mint mark. This small letter might be a D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, or you might find no mint mark at all, which means it came from Philadelphia. Now here's where things get interesting. The mint mark, the quality of the strike, and rare mint errors are what turn ordinary pennies into collector treasures. The 1980 penny is no exception. While the majority of these coins are common, a handful of rare errors and variants are out there, and they're worth hunting for. One of the things collectors love about the 1980 penny is the possibility of mint errors. These errors can occur for all kinds of reasons: a worn die, a misaligned planchet, or even the use of the wrong metal. Let's talk about a few of the most valuable and interesting errors you should be looking for. First up, double die errors. This happens when the die, the stamp used to press the design onto the coin, shifts between strikes, causing a slight doubling of the image. If you look closely at the words, "Liberty," or "In God We Trust," and you see shadow-like doubling, you may have just found a double die variety. These are rare and highly sought after by collectors. Next, off-center strikes. Sometimes, coins are struck when the metal blank isn't perfectly centered. The result? A coin with part of the design missing or shifted to one side. The more off-center it is, while still showing the date and mint mark, the more valuable it becomes. There are also wrong planchet errors, where a penny is accidentally struck on a foreign coin blank or even on a dime planchet, resulting in a 1-cent coin that's the wrong size, weight, or color. And don't forget clipped planchets, coins with crescent-shaped cuts where the metal wasn't properly punched. Now let's talk about something most people never think about: the weight of the coin. In 1980, pennies were still being made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, weighing approximately 3.11 grams. This was before the switch to zinc-based pennies in 1982. So if you find a 1980 penny that weighs less or more than that, and it isn't worn down, you might have a rare error, but the real excitement comes from coins that combine multiple rare traits. Imagine a 1980 penny with a double die, struck off-center, in perfect uncirculated condition, and with a rare mint mark variation. That's the kind of coin that collectors will pay serious money for. And here's something else to look out for: proof coins from the San Francisco Mint. These coins were never meant for circulation. They were made with extra care and mirror-like finishes, designed for collectors. If you ever find a 1980 penny with an S mint mark, check it closely. If it's sharp, flawless, and shiny, you may have a proof coin that somehow made its way into circulation, and that can raise its value tremendously. And now, we've come to the most thrilling part of our journey: the potential value. Because while most 1980 pennies are worth only face value, 1 cent, and even a nicely preserved one might be worth a few dollars to a collector, there's a rare version out there that turned heads in the coin collecting world. One special 1980 Lincoln penny, with a rare error and in pristine, uncirculated condition, authenticated by a top grading service, was auctioned off not long ago, and it sold for an eye-popping total of $86,000. That's right. 1 cent sold for $86,000. A coin you could have walked right past, or tossed in your change jar without a second thought, ended up being a life-changing discovery. That's the magic of numismatics, the adventure, the mystery, and the possibility that the next great coin find could be sitting in your pocket right now. Today, we're diving into the story of a tiny coin with a huge secret, the 1984 Lincoln penny. This copper-colored coin has been in millions of pockets, cash registers, and piggy banks across America for decades, but what if we told you that some of these unassuming pennies are hiding a jaw-dropping surprise? That's right, one specific version of the 1984 penny has shocked collectors and numismatists alike. It's more than just rare, it's a coin that has been known to bring in serious cash. And in one confirmed case, it sold for an absolutely staggering amount. Stick with us until the very end, because we're going to walk you through exactly why the 1984 penny is so special, what to look for, and finally reveal the mind-blowing value of the rarest known version. Let's go back to 1984 for a moment. The world was changing. Prince was ruling the radio with Purple Rain, the first Macintosh computer had just hit the market, and the Cold War was still casting a shadow over global politics. Amid all of that, the United States Mint was doing what it always does, pressing coins for everyday use. But in the process, something unusual happened. And that mistake would go on to make history. The 1984 penny features the familiar face of President Abraham Lincoln on the front, or obverse, of the coin. This portrait was originally designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Above Lincoln's head is the phrase, "In God We Trust." To the left is the word "Liberty," and to the right is the date, 1984. Just below the date, you might see a small letter, the mint mark. This tiny letter tells you where the coin was minted. A D means Denver, no mint mark means Philadelphia, and an S indicates San Francisco. While all of these coins are interesting in their own right, one specific error from the Philadelphia Mint, where no mint mark appears, turned out to be one of the most extraordinary mistakes in U.S. coin history. Let's flip the coin over. The reverse side features the Lincoln Memorial, which had replaced the original wheat ears design back in 1959. If you look closely, you can even see a tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, a beautiful detail that most people don't notice. Above the building are the words United States of America, below it is E pluribus unum, and at the bottom, the denomination, 1 cent. So, if all of this seems pretty standard, what makes this penny so special? It's all about one thing, a rare minting error. This particular error isn't your average off-center strike or planchet clip, it's a dramatic and highly visible double die. And not just any double die, one of the most famous in Lincoln penny history. In the world of coin collecting, a double die occurs when the die used to stamp the coin has a slight shift between strikes, causing certain parts of the design to appear doubled. These doubling effects can sometimes be subtle, but in the case of the 1984 double die penny, it's anything but. The doubling occurs on the obverse, and it's most noticeable in Lincoln's ear. That's right, his ear appears doubled, with a distinct and clearly visible second earlobe beneath the first. It's not a trick of the light, it's not wear and tear, and it's not damage. It's a genuine doubling, and collectors went wild when they first discovered it. This variety is officially known as the 1984 Lincoln cent double die obverse, and it has become one of the most iconic error coins of the 1980s. The doubled ear is crisp and unmistakable, and it appears only on a small portion of the massive 1984 penny mintage. That makes it incredibly rare, and incredibly valuable. Now, let's talk about condition. Just like with other collectible coins, the condition of the coin makes a massive difference. A heavily worn 1984 doubled ear penny might fetch $100, maybe even $300. But if you have a specimen in mint state, untouched by circulation, with a bright red copper luster, and certified by a top grading company like PCGS or NGC, the price can skyrocket. And if you have the full package? We're talking perfect doubling, no scratches, bright color, sharp edges, and full detail. That's the kind of coin that turns collectors into bidders, and auctions into battlegrounds. You might be wondering, how do you know if your 1984 penny is the rare one? Here's what to do. First, take a close look at Lincoln's ear using a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. If you notice a clear second lobe just below the main ear, not a shadow or smudge, but a solid, visible doubling, you might have something very special. Next, check the condition. The brighter, shinier, and less worn the coin is, the higher its grade. And that grade means everything in terms of value. A coin graded MS 65 or higher, that's mint state 65, is where the big money comes into play, and if you really think you've got a winner, send it in for authentication. A professional grading service will confirm whether your coin is a true double die and assign it a grade, which could make all the difference when it comes time to sell or auction it. Now, are all 1984 pennies valuable? Of course not. Most of them are worth a cent. Some in better condition might be worth $1 or $2. But that rare double die variety, especially in the highest condition grades, is what dreams are made of, and now, we've arrived at the moment you've been waiting for. The big reveal. The number that's got coin collectors across the country digging through jars, old wallets, and forgotten rolls of coins from the bank. One of these 1984 Lincoln pennies, featuring the unmistakable double die error on Lincoln's ear, and certified in mint state red condition, sold at a public auction for a jaw-dropping total of $100,000. Yes, you heard that right. A 1-cent coin. Sold for $100,000. Today, dive deep into one of the most fascinating, surprising, and collectible coins in American numismatic history, the 1960 Lincoln penny. Yes, you heard that right. The 1961-cent coin, the kind you've probably seen 100 times, maybe even tossed into a jar or left sitting on the counter, might just be hiding a secret. And if you know what to look for, that secret could be worth far more than you ever imagined. So grab your magnifying glass, dust off that old coin jar, and stick around, because by the time we're done, you'll know why a single 1960 penny has stunned collectors by fetching a staggering six-figure sum at auction. Let's start by traveling back in time to 1960. Dwight D. Eisenhower was president. Elvis Presley was topping the charts. Gas was 31 cents a gallon. And in the world of coins, the U.S. Mint was hard at work, striking millions upon millions of Lincoln pennies. But what makes the 1960 penny stand out isn't just the quantity, it's the variety. This was the year something unusual happened. The Mint made a small but noticeable change to the date on the Lincoln penny, and this change led to multiple versions of the coin being released, some of which became extremely rare and valuable. Collectors today refer to these as the 1960 small date and 1960 large date varieties, and identifying the difference between the two is where the treasure hunt truly begins. So, what's the difference? It's subtle, but once you know what to look for, it becomes pretty clear. On the large date variety, the numerals in the date, especially the 6 and 0, are taller and more prominent. On the small date, those same digits appear more compact and have a slightly different shape, particularly the 0, which looks rounder and thinner. To add to the complexity and the intrigue, these coins were struck at multiple mints. You'll find some with no mint mark, which means they came from the Philadelphia Mint. Others bear a tiny D just below the date, indicating they were produced in Denver, and here's where it gets really exciting. In 1960, both the small date and large date varieties were minted at both Philadelphia and Denver, but not in equal numbers. Some combinations are common. Others are extremely rare. And one, in particular, has become legendary in the world of rare coins. But before we get to that, let's talk about how these varieties came to be. In early 1960, the Mint began striking pennies using the small date design. But somewhere along the way, the engravers decided the date wasn't quite visible enough, so they modified the design, enlarging the numerals to create what we now know as the large date version. Instead of melting down or discarding the earlier dies, both versions were used, sometimes even in the same production runs, which is how we ended up with a fascinating mix of small and large date coins. Now, to the untrained eye, they all look pretty much the same. But to collectors, spotting that tiny difference can mean the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth thousands, or even more. Let's get into specifics. The 1960 small date penny from Philadelphia is a desirable coin, particularly in high-grade condition. But the real star of the show is the 1960 D small date penny, the Denver Mint version. That coin is significantly rarer and has become one of the most talked about Lincoln cent varieties in modern coin collecting. Now you may be wondering, why does the mint mark matter so much? It comes down to mintage numbers and survival rates. The Denver Mint produced far fewer small-date pennies in 1960 than the Philadelphia Mint did. Even fewer survived in uncirculated condition. So when collectors realized how rare the Denver small-date version was, it sparked a frenzy, and values began to climb, and it didn't stop there. Over the years, sharp-eyed collectors discovered even more intriguing versions of the 1960 penny, including proof coins, double die errors, and coins with repunched mint marks. These variations, especially when combined with the small-date variety, have skyrocketed in value. Now, let's talk about coin grading, because condition is absolutely everything when it comes to value. A 1960 penny that's scratched, dull, or corroded isn't going to fetch much, no matter how rare the variety is. But a 1960 small-date penny in mint state red condition, meaning it has that rich, fiery red color and has never been circulated, can be worth a small fortune. Coins are typically graded on the Sheldon scale from 1 to 70, and anything graded MS 65 or higher is considered gem quality. Add in the rarity of a small date with a D mint mark and flawless surfaces. That's when the coin moves from collectible to legendary. If you've got a 1960 penny and you're wondering what you have, here's what to do. First, look closely at the date. Compare it to images online of the small and large date varieties. If you're unsure, use a magnifier or take it to a reputable coin dealer for help. Next, check for a mint mark. If it has a D, you may have a Denver Mint small date, and that's where things get exciting. Then, weigh the coin if you can. It should come in at about 3.11 grams, since these coins were made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, the standard composition for pennies before 1982. If your coin looks sharp, has full detail, no scratches, and that gorgeous copper luster, consider having it graded by a third-party service like PCGS or NGC. Authentication and grading could significantly boost your coin's market value. And finally, if you discover that you've got the rare 1960 small date penny in pristine condition, hold on tight, because that's where this story reaches its incredible conclusion. Point 1. Such coin, a 1960 Lincoln penny, small date variety, in immaculate red mint state condition, was submitted to a top-tier grading service, certified, and put up for auction. Collectors knew it was rare. They knew it was high quality. But nobody expected just how much it would go for. When the final bid came in and the gavel dropped, this tiny, copper-colored piece of history, worth just 1 cent when it was made, sold for a jaw-dropping $110,000. Yes. A penny. Sold for $110,000. So the next time you glance at a penny and think it's worthless, think again. The world of coins is full of surprises. And sometimes, the key to unlocking that surprise is hidden in something as small as the curve of a number or the presence of a mint mark. That's the magic of collecting. That's the thrill of the hunt. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the fascinating story of the 1960 Lincoln penny, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future discoveries. And tell us in the comments, have you ever found a rare penny in your change? Are you going to start checking every coin a little more closely now? Thanks for watching, and remember, every coin tells a story. Some just happen to be worth a whole lot more than we ever expected.